Hello and welcome to another episode here on my channel. My name is ChaosMole, and today Kotaku released an article which you were seeing here in the background called "The Human Toll of Fallout 76: Disaster's Launch." And it's a pretty long article. If you want to read the whole thing, it will be in the description. Well, not the whole article, but the link to the article. It's a pretty long one. I actually read through the whole thing on stream just a few minutes ago, but because this is a damn long read, I will give you the TLDR in this video so that you actually know what the heck is going on. So, if you want a super short TLDR, this is a perfect example again of mismanagement, QR departments which were understaffed, nobody cared for them, and some people just didn't saw them as part of the development team, and so they didn't really listen to them. And interestingly here for Fallout 76, one of the biggest parts was that they developed a game most of the developers didn't want to do because management decided, hey, live service games, they can make you a lot of money even years after the release, let's do one. So the first problem was that the team already said, we are single player developers, we are not really doing that, so why do we have to do this, right? And we also don't have the expertise for that. Interestingly enough, Bethesda had multiple studios with multiplayer expertise like ZeniMax Online, right? And some other prototype games they have apparently working on. And instead of taking them in for support, they were basically side-eyeing them as like, MMOs, that's not a real game. Like, there was apparently like a lot of internal disputes between the teams and everyone was fighting each other. Right, and Todd Howard was apparently also a big problem. He didn't want to see some of the issues, he ignored some or downplayed them. And the biggest problem, again, was the QA department. Blah, blah, words I tell you today, it's not my strength. But the QA department was apparently a lot under fire. They did bleed people on a weekly basis. There were literally people in the QA department who said, man, if I break my ankle by going downstairs, I don't have to go to work tomorrow. Oh, that would be amazing. Think about that for a second. There were people who thought that their situation would be better if they would break a bone in their body not having to go to work. To bring a person to that point that they think harming themselves would improve their situation is a really messed up thing. That is really, really messed up. Of course, the usual of like people being surveilled, right? Like, hey, how long do you take a bathroom break and all that? That happened, of course. But it's a mess. And even if you're looking beyond this and all the bugs and the issues, one of the big main issues was apparently, again, the creator engine, which is the engine Bethesda has been using for ages now. And they took the engine and were like, all right, this engine is now creating a multiplayer game for us. And the engine was absolutely not prepared for that. It wasn't designed for that. It didn't have the tools. The tools would break. Like, it was just using an engine which was just not made for it. And so they realized that problems became bigger and bigger. But instead of saying, okay, stop, we have to fix this, they decided to remove some of the features from the game they actually had planned for, because they couldn't fix those issues fast enough. And one of those big features, you might remember, was NPCs. NPCs were actually planned in Fallout 76, but they looked at the timetable, they looked at the features, they looked at the issues, And they were like, nah, we are not getting NPCs in here to release, maybe at some point. So instead of like sitting down, fixing the issues, looking where the problem really is, they were just like, yeah, okay, let's remove NPCs here and then just release the game anyways. So that is, yeah, it's just a shame. Like, it was completely mismanaged. A team which didn't wanted to do Fallout 76 as a live service game because they didn't like it. There were apparently literally managers in those groups of developers who couldn't care less about the game. Where sometimes employees got in with the issues, with the reports, and they were like, I don't care. It's not my problem. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I don't do multiplayer games. It's not my thing. Even though they were hired for the game, but they didn't want to. They drafted a lot of people from other teams. Like, they were literally going around and saying, you, and you worked at Skyrim, you work on Starfield right now, you work on Wolfenstein, congratulations, you're now working on Fallout 76. Let's get moving. Like, they were drafting people from other teams, like in the military. Absolutely crazy. And yeah, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. There was also the myth again of this magic happening after some development time. Apparently Bethesda is still very much looking at the game development from the 90s and early 2000 perspective, even though game development has changed drastically in how you develop games and how you manage games, how you test games. And they're basically still looking at games from an indie studio perspective, even though they are not a small indie studio anymore. They have multiple studios all over the country. And yeah, like, even the QA department is still seen as this 10 people can check a game and can keep it in check. I was like, no, that's not how it works. Also very interesting, the article then is going a little bit into the talk of how things have now changed since Xbox bought Bethesda. And it didn't do much. If you hoped that this would now turn around and Microsoft had a positive effect on all of this, then it seems like there seems to be a dispute, at least inside of the workers, that some say yes, some things actually got better, and some others say no, it didn't. Because Microsoft has this hand-off policy, and it seems really that Microsoft didn't make a lot of changes because they just said, hey, you manage yourself, you do your thing, do your magic, be excellent, we give you the money for that, go, right? And like, a lot of the employees working at Bethesda were actually looking at the benefits Microsoft employees would get, and they were dreaming. They were like, oh my God, look at those benefits Microsoft workers get. Oh, that would be amazing if we would also now get this because we are not part of Microsoft, right? Right? Wrong. They did not. Because apparently Bethesda is still its own entity and they're doing all the things themselves. So yeah, that didn't work out, which really, really sucks. It got better. Like, apparently some things changed. Like, ZeniMax recently introduced a tiered system that helped employees get titles and pay bands for jobs they had been doing for years without recognition or extra compensation. So there definitely were some things they improved, but not as much as people hoped for, right? And yeah, it's a bit problematic. Like, this, by the way, fits completely the narrative why Starfield was delayed. Todd Howard apparently was the person who was very adamant to release the game on this date. He seems to be a believer of once a date is given, it has to be kept no matter what. Which again is a very, very 90, 2000 view on game development, right? Like where we didn't get too many delays, and whenever there was a title or a date, we got those dates. And it seems like that this time at least, Xbox was stepping in and was like, Todd, listen, man, we have played the game. It's amazing, but you cannot release the game under those conditions. It just doesn't work out. Please, like, we will give you the time you need. Let's delay this. And apparently this time it was really just Xbox who saved us from another Fallout 76. And yeah, again, that's... I hate to say this a bit, because it's not one person who is creating those issues. But Todd Howard seems to be stuck in the old ways on how to create a video game, and that just doesn't fit the games anymore, especially because those games become bigger and bigger. Right? When you were looking at Fallout 3, Skyrim, then Fallout 4, and then now you look at Starfield, and that we are getting a whole universe to explore. The games become bigger, the games become more complex, and you have to adapt. And it seems like that this seems to be one of the biggest issues Bethesda has a little bit. And of course, not utilizing the developers from all the studios around in the Bethesda family, because there is some bad blood between them that has to stop. I know it's a lot of the issues we talked about today is very much close to game development in general, but that has to stop. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, Microsoft, hands off of their games, great thing. Hands off of the companies to make sure that everyone wants to work at those companies. That is not a good idea. Fix that, please. With that said, thank you so much for watching. If, again, you want to read the whole article, you'll find the link in the video description. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate if you leave a like. If you're new to the channel, you want to get more gaming news, reaction videos, thoughts, tips and tricks for new games, and the whole shebang, I would appreciate if you might consider to subscribe to the channel. It would help me out a great deal. If you ever want to catch me live, you could do so from Monday to Friday. I'm starting at 9 a.m. East Coast time. That is 2 p.m. UK time and 3 p.m. Central European time. And I'm streaming from Monday to Thursday at trovo.live/ChaosMole. And on Friday, I'm here on the YouTubes. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.